During her morning stroll, a woman stumbled upon a stray kitten with oversized ears tucked inside a cardboard box. Instantly drawn to the little feline, she decided to bring it into her home. For a time, everything seemed harmonious, until 6 months later an unexpected twist awaited her. As Juliana took her walk, a sudden, desperate, high-pitched mewing shattered the quietude. It seemed to emanate from nowhere, a solitary cry amidst the rustling leaves. Scanning the path, Juliana's eyes fell upon a tipped cardboard box, inside of which nestled a tiny, thin kitten amidst shredded newspaper. Its eyes widened with fear, its ears dominating its petite head with their oversized, oddly pointed shape. Juliana felt an overwhelming surge of compassion. This helpless creature couldn't survive alone in the wild. Without hesitation, she scooped the kitten into her coat for warmth. Back in the comforting confines of her apartment, Juliana carefully unwrapped the trembling bundle. Despite its frailty, the kitten eagerly lapped up warm milk, its oversized ears twitching with each swallow. Juliana's heart warmed at the sight, and she decided to name him Ziggy in homage to a beloved jetting master. Ziggy quickly adapted to his new home, brimming with boundless energy as he playfully chased shadows and clumsily batted at dangling threads with his oversized paws. Juliana couldn't help but laugh as he constantly bumped into furniture. His ears seemed to throw off his balance, and they didn't simply seem large. They were growing at an alarming rate. They were now almost comically out of proportion to his still small body, and his appetite was insatiable. Juliana found herself making constant trips to the pet store for more food. He was growing taller too. His legs became unusually long and slender. Juliana was getting worried. Was this just a strange growth phase, or was there something different about Ziggy? She loved the quirky little creature, but the sense of unease lingered. Late one night, unable to shake her concerns, she turned to the internet for answers. Juliana scrolled through images of cat breeds. Then, in a moment that made her breath catch, she stumbled upon a picture of a sleek, wild-looking creature. Its face was strikingly similar to Ziggy's, and it had those unmistakable, enormous ears. Her heart pounded as her eyes scanned the text. Caracal, a medium-sized African wild cat, she read on. Unlike the familiar house cat, the caracal is a wild feline native to the savannas and woodlands of Africa and parts of Asia. It's a medium-sized predator with striking golden fur and the most distinctive feature, incredible tufted ears. These aren't merely for decoration. They act like sensitive antennas and are capable of pinpointing the faintest rustle of prey even in tall grasses. Juliana was stunned. Everything fit. Could Ziggy, the clumsy kitten she'd rescued, actually be related to an African wild cat? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. This wasn't just a quirky kitten. It was something extraordinary and potentially, well, illegal. Juliana knew she needed answers, expert ones. Frantically, she began searching for wildlife sanctuaries in Nebraska. One website caught her attention: the Heartland Wildlife Refuge. Their mission statement focused on the rescue and rehabilitation of exotic animals. With shaking hands, Juliana found the contact form and poured out her story. The abandoned kitten, the strange ears, the resemblance to a caracal. She attached photos of Ziggy that emphasized the unusual features. Days later, her email pinged. It was from the Heartland Wildlife Refuge. The tone was cautiously curious. They were intrigued by her story and the photos of Ziggy, but to determine the cat's true lineage, they needed to examine him in person. It could be a simple case of unusual mixed-breed lineage or something far more fascinating. Regardless, they reminded her that owning a caracal was not only illegal but potentially dangerous. The sanctuary explained that even partially wild cats had specialized needs and instincts that a typical home couldn't meet or truly understand. The thought of Ziggy being unhappy or worse, a danger to himself or others, sent a pang of guilt through her. Yet a fierce protectiveness surged through her. She'd rescued Ziggy and given him a home. She wouldn't just abandon him now. Juliana immediately replied to the sanctuary. She expressed her love for Ziggy and her willingness to do whatever was necessary for his well-being. The response came swiftly. The Heartland Wildlife Refuge was genuinely touched by Juliana's dedication. They explained that relocation wasn't a foregone conclusion, but it could be the best outcome for Ziggy. Of course, that depended on the results of a thorough assessment. Juliana felt a wave of devastation crash over her. The possibility of losing Ziggy, of him living somewhere else, was heartbreaking. However, she knew she had to put his needs first. The sanctuary reassured Juliana that they weren't interested in simply confiscating Ziggy. Their goal was to ensure he had the best possible life, and they sensed her deep commitment to achieving that. A delicate plan began to form. A team from the sanctuary would make the trip to Juliana's home within the next week to examine Ziggy. If the DNA test revealed a significant percentage of caracal, authorities might need to be involved. Juliana's mind raced, but her focus was on Ziggy. She would navigate everything else as it came. The day the wildlife experts arrived, Juliana's apartment felt uncharacteristically small. She saw it as a temporary cage for a creature that might belong to a wider world. Dr. Bairstow explained the following steps. First, observation. She knelt on the floor with their notebooks in hand while Ziggy cautiously approached. His initial wariness faded into his usual clumsy curiosity. He gave her a glimpse into his playful, but distinctly uncat-like nature. Then came the measurements. Juliana held Ziggy with trembling hands while Dr. Bairstow took note of his unusual proportions, his long legs, the length of his tail, and of course, the extraordinary span of those ears. The most difficult part was yet to come, obtaining a blood sample. Dr. Bairstow was swift and efficient. The tiny vial of blood held an answer that felt as heavy as lead in Juliana's heart. Before leaving, Dr. Bairstow emphasized that results would take weeks. The waiting was excruciating. Juliana went through the motions of daily life, but her mind constantly wandered. What if Ziggy had to leave? Where would he go? Could she even bear to visit him? What if the authorities decided she knowingly harbored an illegal animal? Nightmares punctuated her sleep, a carousel of faceless officials and Ziggy disappearing into a barred enclosure. Then an envelope came. The Heartland Wildlife Refuge's logo was stamped neatly in the corner. With trembling hands, Juliana tore open the flap. The first words blurred in front of her. She blinked and reread the sentence just to make sure reality wasn't playing a cruel trick. The results of Ziggy's DNA analysis are conclusive. He is 100% Felis catus, a domestic house cat. A wave of disbelief flooded through her so intense that it almost knocked her off her feet. There was no caracal lineage, not even a trace. The sanctuary team was as baffled as she was. Their working theory was unprecedented. Ziggy's extraordinary appearance was likely due to a rare spontaneous genetic mutation. They'd never encountered anything quite like it. Elation surged through Juliana. The rush was so intense it brought tears to her eyes. Ziggy wasn't a wild animal in disguise, he was simply Ziggy. Yet the relief was quickly followed by a new wave of confusion. How could a house cat end up with ears that dwarfed his head and with legs reminiscent of a much larger feline? The sanctuary admitted these were questions that might never have a definitive answer. They were, however, thrilled for both Juliana and Ziggy. The cloud of potential relocation and legal repercussions simply vanished. He was free to be her quirky, oversized, eared companion without fear. For a while, life felt deliciously ordinary. One rainy afternoon, Juliana's phone rang. It was her veterinarian, Dr. Ellis. "You won't believe this," he said, "but we found a stray cat with ears just like Ziggy's." Juliana was surprised. Dr. Ellis explained that they had treated a similar stray cat years ago, and it was possible that Ziggy was her kitten. Juliana felt happy to think Ziggy might have family. She asked if she could visit the stray cat. Dr. Ellis joked that she might end up with 2 special cats. Juliana smiled, but she knew Ziggy was unique. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.